Hi, this is Guy Harris. Welcome to Talk Like a Leader. The title of this week's episode is, Oh no, I made a mistake I knew how to avoid. Now, the origin of this story starts in my workshop. I have a 2-car garage on my house, and I've effectively converted that 2-car garage to a woodworking shop. And I've been doing woodworking, home improvement, DIY projects for about 40 years now. So I do have some experience in this area, and there are lots of things I still have to learn. One of the things I'm trying to learn is really finer woodworking skills. I've done lots of work with wood and concrete and steel and plastic and wiring and a whole bunch of other materials and types of projects. What I'm really working on at this stage of my life is developing my ability to do finer and more precise woodworking. And even though I've built some furniture and done some things, I wouldn't say that any of it rises to the standard of fine furniture. It's functional. It looked good when I was done, and it could be better. So I've spent quite a bit of time in the last year or so watching different YouTube videos, subscribing to Instagram channels, reading books, looking in magazines, trying to pick up tips and finer points for how to do things more accurately, more precisely, better looking. I'm basically trying to refine my game. And in that process, I've acquired some better tools because better tools allow me to do better work. Now, the challenge is just having the tool doesn't make better work until you know how to use the tool. So it's sort of a combined effort. Getting some better tools, trying to get some more information, and then all of that has to collide with converting what I know and what the tool's capable of into my ability to make that tool do the thing it needs to do. Well, I'm working on a project right now to build a better, more stable, more functional workbench that I can use for creating other projects. So the workbench actually will become a tool in my shop. And I've challenged myself to try to build this thing with no metal fasteners. I'm trying to use more furniture type joinery techniques and finishing techniques rather than construction type joinery techniques. And one of the things I was doing recently, just this week actually, was cleaning up a piece of wood after it had been joined with another piece of wood. And the tool of choice for this particular process was a hand plane. Well, I've invested in a really good hand plane and some good sharpening equipment, and I've got the plane tuned up, ready to go. I've never actually used a plane a lot prior to this. I've used planes in like a construction setting, like I said, for cleaning up a door that drags on the floor or something like that. That's more rough planing rather than fine planing. So I'm planing the wood, and I noticed that I'm having a hard time clamping the wood. It's not going exactly as I planned. And so I reacted to what I saw in the moment and changed the direction that I was planing the wood. And in that change of direction, I went from planing with the grain to planing against the grain. And if you're a woodworker, you know that that's not a good thing. If you're not a woodworker, I'll tell you what happens. As soon as you run that blade against the grain of the wood, you run the risk of creating a situation known as tear out, where the wood doesn't plane nice and smoothly, but it has little divots in it, and it kind of chatters a bit as it goes across the surface of the wood. It removes wood, it's just not pretty and smooth when you're done. Now the thing is, I know that you're not supposed to plane against the grain. If you asked me, should you plane against the grain, or what's the best way to plane wood, I'd probably say no, you shouldn't plane against the grain, and you really need the plane, if possible, to follow the direction of the grain to get best results. So the idea is, I know how to do the thing I want to do. I understand the concept. I understand the operating principle. The challenge is I haven't done the thing enough so that my instinctive and automatic response causes me to do it the right way. Even though I had the knowledge of how to do what I was doing better, I don't have the practice or the experience to make it second nature yet. in the heat of the moment, when confronted with the situation, even though I knew what I needed to do, it wasn't the first thing that popped in my mind. I just went with my reaction, and it created tear out. The good news is I recognized it as soon as it happened. Well, because I know that it's not okay, as soon as I had bad results, I knew exactly why I had bad results. And I was able to fix it and correct the situation. So, first of all, what's the learning point? The learning point is this. Knowing something is the beginning of mastery. Practicing something is required for mastery. So I first have to learn a concept, and then I have to practice a concept before it becomes ingrained in how I do things. What's that got to do with leadership communication? That's effectively the same thing. You can know a communication principle, and in the heat of the moment when emotions are high, fail to use it. You can misread the situation and not apply a technique or a principle that you understand intellectually. You haven't practiced it enough to make it second nature. You might even be able to look at the situation like I did with planing the wood. You might be able to look at the situation or assess the situation after you've messed up and know instantly what you did wrong. You just haven't practiced the skill enough to master it so that you instinctively and automatically use the technique or principle that applies best in the situation. So my encouragement to you is, first of all, work on learning lots of communication principles and lots of communication techniques. Build your toolbox, build your knowledge base, and then practice those skills. Commit yourself to learning how to assess a situation before it happens rather than troubleshoot it after it happens. Here's what I think is likely to happen for you. It's what has happened for me as I've practiced communication skills. The more I practice them, the better I get. The better I get, the less I mess up. I don't get it right all the time. I do get it right more of the time. And I think the same thing will happen for you. The more you practice the skills, the more they become second nature, and the more you'll do them automatically. So the learning point is this. You have to get yourself out of learning mode and into doing and practicing mode before you'll truly master the art of leadership communication. And in the journey to become a master communicator, you're going to have to make some mistakes. You're going to have to embrace those mistakes, learn from them, move on, and try to apply the principle or technique again in the future. Eventually, you'll master that technique or principle. If you will commit yourself to the journey of learning to master leadership communication rather than just know about leadership communication, you can talk like a leader. This has been the Talk Like a Leader podcast. You can listen to this show every week wherever you get your podcast. If you haven't, be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. I'm Guy Harris, and thanks for listening.